he is a D'Addario artist. He's a brilliant workshop leader, author, fiddle player. In fact, I was listening to him playing some Piazzolla about half an hour before we started this evening. It was a lovely way all I needed was a glass of wine, and I'd have probably been well away. It's fantastic. And I also listened to an album called American Spirit. If you've got Spotify, Apple Music, then do have a listen. Having said that, I'm probably preaching to the converted, because this webinar has been so popular. A lot of you know Christian and his work and wanted to get involved. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Christian, who will lead you through the webinar, and I'll chat to you all again at the end. So welcome, Christian.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I am coming to Cardiff. That's the plan. So I look forward to meeting you there. Make sure you go to the conference. Thanks to D'Addario. I'm going to try to make some dreams come true for you all in the next hour. All right. Probably do like 3 or 4 or 5 different things that you've never done before. This is a playing thing. So grab your instrument. All right. So we've got this loop. What I want you to do is have your instrument. I want you to, first of all, just take a breath. Set your intention for the next hour. You're going to have some new concepts introduced to you, and wherever you're at right now, that's exactly where you should be. So just give yourself a little virtual hug. All right? Woo. Set your intention. It's like, I am what? I am balanced. I am calm. I am open. Let's go with something like that. All right? Now, you might be 448, 448. I don't really care. 444, 450. This is probably 438 or 442. It doesn't matter. It's not about that. Don't worry about being in tune. Let's improvise. All right, we're going to start in the key of D major. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. When C's and F's are sharp, I want you to pick one of those notes and play it. It doesn't have to be the same note as me. And then you're going to change it. You're going to change with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. When C and F are sharp. Change. As you're playing, you're breathing. Change again. Different note. One of those 7. A, B, C, D, E, F, G in the key of D major. Let's change again. Mindful of your breath, your intention of your body. Change. You're improvising. Congratulations. We're 10 seconds into this session. Play a different note. A note from the D major scale and a different one. Now, as you change that note, you can focus on a lot of different things, right? You could focus on the intonation, even though I know my loop's probably out of tune. Don't worry about that too much. You could change. You could focus on your articulation. You could focus on your breath, on the tension in your shoulders, on the volume, on the connection between 2 notes. Now we're going to speed it up. We're going to do twice as fast, all right? So I'll still cue the change. So play note from D major, and then another note from D major. So we're here. Changing. Structure. Structure is what's going to facilitate creative expression, consistency, getting the most out of your practice. It all comes from structure. Stop focusing on the leaves, start focusing on the trees in the forest. You'll understand what I mean when we're doing this. I'm going to go twice as fast. So we're here. Note, 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 note. Keep that going. Let's double it up again, or stay where you're at. You always stay in child's pose. So note, 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 note. Now just think about it. So right? So notes from the D major scale, doesn't matter which ones, but you're changing with me, with my structure. Note, 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 note. If you want to do something advanced, then you change on the anticipation. For example. You want to get fancy, you can get fancy. If it's too fast for you, then just stay slower. remember to center back around to the things that you can pay attention to. You can pay attention to the improvisation itself, the compositional idea. But you can also pay attention to your tone quality, your posture, the tension in your body, your breath, coming back to your thoughts. Envision a leaf falling into a lake. The lake is unaffected. That's your mind right now. Just a couple more things with this exercise, and then we're going to do something else. I'm going to give you a melodic rhythm. Okay, here's the melodic rhythm. Ba da ba ba. Okay, just listen again. Right. Ba da da da. Now I'm going to play an example of that. Okay. Now I'm going to play a different example of that. I want you to play that rhythm with 5 different melodic combinations. It can be the same note. It can be 5 notes. I don't care. 2, ready. Ba do dee ba. Next one. Ba da da da. Notes from the D major scale. Can be 1 note if you want. Ba da da da. Ba da da da. Here's a different rhythm. Okay, so just listening. 1 ba da 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 da. 1 ba da 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 da. 1 ba da 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 da. You do it 5 times. Different melody every time, same rhythm. That's a concept called melodic rhythm. See, what I've been doing this whole time is first of all, because this is about how to teach it. I'm going to teach you lots of things in this class, big things, but some of them are going to echo this. The reason this works is because, number one, I've given you a challenge that's within your comfort zone. In other words, you can play D major, right? You know what the D major scale is. Remember that, because this is one of the main things about you helping your students improvise, is that you give them something in their comfort zone. All the jazz people, they go out and they show up and they're like, okay, I'm going to teach you a blues scale. I'm going to teach you a blues progression, and now improvise. The reason that does not work is because they're working with something that is not comfortable. The students haven't learned a blues scale yet. I'm going to say it again. You don't want to conflate the learning mind with the creative mind. So you only have your students improvise within a framework or within parameters or with material that they are already completely comfortable with. That's why I didn't ask you to play like in double stops in 7th position. That wouldn't work either. So it needs to be something that is conceptually familiar or comfortable, technically doable, easy, right? So when we're focused on creativity, we're not learning. There's a book called Fast Brain, Slow Brain, or Fast Thinking, Slow Thinking, something like that. It was popular. It was in the airport a couple years ago. Our fast brain, that's what we want to use for creating. Slow brain is for learning, memorizing, right? We'll get into that. All right. So, but within this, the second reason why you're succeeding within 10 seconds of this class, when you may never have done so before in the 50 years of your life, or at least not consistently, is because I gave you clear rules, structure. I said, this is when you change the note. How many of you have tried to improvise and someone said, just play notes from a D major scale, but it didn't work? Because you need to have another step of scaffolding. You need to have another restriction. And that's what I gave to you. I said, play the note now. Change it now. That extra piece of structure makes all the difference. Same thing with the melodic rhythm. What I just gave you was use a melodic rhythm. What's the melodic rhythm? It's the rhythm of a melody. Ba-da-da-da. Right? So if you know I'm going to play that rhythm, but I'm going to use notes from the D major scale, it's so much easier of a lift, as you probably just experienced. All right? So just really quickly, just going to show you, this is kind of tangential, but we're just going to do it anyway. So we're going to do, I just want you to mute your strings like this. So let your fingers fall on the instrument. They just fall lightly. And then just glide the bow over top. It's gonna be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. For cellos, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push. Now we're gonna play 8, mute 8. Play 8, mute 8. Play 8, mute 8. Now we'll play 4, mute 4. Mute, play, mute, play, mute. 2 and 2. This is grooving. Why is it grooving? Because our body is actually physically subdividing. Let's try this one. Down, up, down, up, down, up. That's gonna be harder. Down, up. It's okay. Just do your best. The most important thing is we're moving down, up, down, up. Bow's always moving. Down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. All right, we'll come back to that. All right, we're going to the next thing. This is a big thing. This is a big thing. I wanted to take you a little bit through the what I call mindful integrated creative practice based on the scale. It's a very specific thing. But now we're going to get into this a different module. I'm going to share my screen, and there's a link that was already shared in the chat in case you need this in another form, because anybody who is not a cellist, you should be able to see it fine. But if you are a cellist, you'll need to look at it on a different screen. Sorry, cellists. Even viola, actually. Let me see if I can find this. Sorry. That is... Here we go. Pachelbel's canon. Actually, okay. If you're viola or violin, you can see this, but the bottom part is blocked off for the cello. So I have it in bass clef. So for cello, you want to click on that link and pull up the Pachelbel in bass clef. Here's how this works. The way this works is you pick a note from the chord, you drag and drop it. So I pick one note from D, one note from A, one note from B minor, one note from F sharp. All right, that's what you do. Let's try it. One note per chord. Look ahead. 2 and 3 and 4. You play. B minor, F sharp. Look to the G chord, pick a note. Look to the D chord, pick a note. Look to the G chord, pick a note. Look ahead, A, pick a note. Observe the key signature. Do it again, one note per chord. Next step is, if you want, you can play 2 notes per chord, for example. 2 notes from B minor, 2 notes from F sharp minor, 2 from G, 2 notes from D, 2 notes from G, 2 notes from A. You can play more if you want. However many is comfortable for you, just playing the chord tones. Just do that like 2 more times through and we'll go to the next level. If you don't understand what we're doing, then just say, I don't understand, and I'll stop and I'll explain it. But you're taking one note from each of these stacks, and that's a chord tone. All right, in fact, we're gonna stop now really quick. So here's the thing. This will change your life. This realization alone will change your life, because the question that most of us have had is like, how do I know what the right notes to play are? The right note to play is a chord tone. It's always the right note to play. And just realizing that changes your life. I mean, it changed my life anyway. And so it's like my kid, when my kid went to high school, they call it high school in the US. My kid's 25, my oldest kid's 25 now. And they came home one day and they were like, Dad, did you know that the human body is made of 70% of water? I was like, that's not true. They didn't teach me that when I was going to school. But it's the same kind of realization. It's like, wait, every note that's happening, whether it's in the melody, whether it's in the bass, whether it's in the accompaniment parts, it's all chord tones. That's all it is. That's all it is, chord tones. And so as soon as you give yourself access to the chord tones, now you're empowered. Now you're empowered. Of course, later on we can talk about how to memorize that information. But this tool that I created, which I call Chord Stacks, I think is a game changer, because now you get to be accountable for the harmony of the song. There's no reason for you to not be accountable for no more reason for me as my wife's husband to not be accountable for doing the dishes. It's about caretaking. Musicians caretake for the music. So you can take this on if you want. So let's go to the next level here. So if we want to make the Pocketballs canon in bluegrass, I'm going to talk about the three parts of the song. Bass line, inner voices, melody. Bass line, inner voices, melody. They all use chord tones, but they have a couple different rules. So for the inner voices, we want to do something called voice leading, which just means we move stepwise from a chord tone in one chord to a chord tone in the next chord. So we're going to run pony. So I want you to play Run Pony using chord tones, either single notes or double stops from these chord tones. 1, 2, ready, go. Do it again. Here's a variation. Two chord tones with this rhythm. Or just stick with Run Pony. Here's another variation. So for the inner voices, for the bass line, and for our melody or improvisation, we use chord tones. And the way that we understand, instead of thinking what makes the difference between like a bluegrass style and a Balkan style, instead of thinking of it in terms of style and like some unique like cultural aspect, which is all valid, but let's just think about the difference in the mechanics of the groove. The easiest way to do that is to be like, what's the rhythm of the inner voices? What's the rhythm of the bass line? So I gave you a rhythm that's used in bluegrass inner voices, and that makes it, at least on a surface level, sound like bluegrass. Now, if you move to North Carolina, where I live, then you can pick up more of the cultural nuances of the music. You know what I mean? But I think we can agree that if we just focus on fundamentals, some of these fundamentals, they apply across all styles of music, right? And that's really what I want to give you. So let's look at the inner voices in a waltz. So here's a waltz. So the inner voices are going to have a different rhythm. It's going to be like this. So play the rhythm, play the inner voices with me. Chord tones. You can play single notes or you can play double stops. We can play separate notes like this, or this rhythm. Or three notes. So again, what's critical about the inner voices is that whatever style you're playing in, you just want to know, well, what's the rhythm of this style. So if it's a waltz, the inner voices, I give you a couple options. If it's bluegrass, a couple options. If it's EDM music, if it's tango, if it's jazz, you want to ask, like, what's the rhythm of the inner voices? Once you know the rhythm that is used by a rhythm guitar, by the piano, or whatever, you just copy that rhythm and you play chord tones. Play chord tones. And what else do you do with those chord tones? You voice lead them. How do you voice lead them? Because you have this graph in your head. The one that I gave you right here. Do not do this with letter names. Do not do this with only root position chords, because you need to see the voice leading. You need to see every point of connection between every chord tone. That's what makes this a fluid process. Now, there are ways that I teach so that how you can memorize this easily. I've got all this memorized, at least with Pachelbel, right? Let's look at the bass line, because we spent a little bit of time on melody in the beginning and we did a little bit on inner voices. Let's look at the bass line. The bass line follows a different rule than the inner voices. The bass line does not voice lead, which means it does not need to step stepwise, right? What the bass line does is the bass line 99% of the time, the bass will play the root of the chord on the downbeat of the chord. So let's do that on the waltz. Ready? 1, 2, 3. D. Just look at the letter name. A. You're playing a bass line. B. F sharp. You ever want to memorize the chord progression to a song? Do this 50 times. Just literally play the root note on the downbeat of every chord in the song. Let's do it one more time. That's your bass line. It's the root of the chord on the downbeat. And sometimes there's more than that. But this is where we want to start. Again, caretaking. Don't complain that it's too easy. Because bass players, they do this, 50 choruses on every song, 50 songs in a night, every night for the rest of their life. They do this, they caretake for the bass line. So now, for our melody, how are you going to make a melody? You're going to play chord tones in your melody. For the next idea, and when you want to go beyond chord tones, you can use notes from the D major scale, but what I recommend as a practice method is to always play a chord tone on the downbeat of the measure. So listen, I'll demonstrate. So I'm always going to play a chord tone on the downbeat, but then I might do something else to lead to the next chord tone. All right, so that's what I want you to explore now, a little bit melodically. Now, just to be clear, here's your structures. You can play one chord tone per bar. If you do, try to voice lead. Try to move stepwise to the chord tone in the next bar. You can play multiple chord tones per bar. Or you can try to play non-chord tones, but landing on a chord tone. So take a couple passes on the waltz. You got it. 2, 3. One more time through it. Great. All right, since we don't have a ton of time today, so let's do it now with La Folia. All right. I'm going to set up the loop here too, because this is going to illustrate to you more of the same stuff I'm talking to you about. Give me 1 second here. Let me get rid of this, and I'm going to create a new loop. So I'm going to start with the bass line in this loop. Yeah, I'm going to do a bass line just like that. I don't know what you call that beat. It's like that, but I'm going to play the progression. You can follow it in your head. You can even try to play some of the arpeggios as I go through, observe the key signature. Oh, wait. Ha ha. I messed it up. I was thinking I was playing Pachelbel for a second. Here we go. D minor. C. So all we need now, so you can play that bass line if you want, right? But all we need now for our inner voices is like a rhythm, and we're gonna play chord tones on that rhythm. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna try that rhythm, and you can try it with me. You can play it on one note, or you can play it on. I'm gonna do triple stops, but you can do double stops, one note, or triple. Okay. And if you notice, when you saw how I was strumming, it goes back to that grooving thing I showed you before, right? So you can do that if you want. Now, play after me for the melodies. Okay, I'm gonna start on the note D. One more time. So basically, most of that is based on chord tones, right? Most of the melodies based on chord tones. But if you want to try it for yourself, you can try to play some rhythmic ideas, make up your own melodic ideas rather. You can use just chord tones if you want, or you can try to play chromatic lines even if you want. My recommendation is land on chord tones on strong beats. I just give it, you just have some fun with it for a second. 2 and 3, and you got it. All right. And that is that section. We're going to go to another section. I just want to see if there's anybody that has any questions about it. How to use a visual diagram with basically all I've done is I've taken each triad and I've made a stack of the notes in the triad as they fall on my instrument, extended range, first position on the instrument. And then using that visual aid to give you access to the chord tones, which you have not memorized because it's not part of your training, but you can memorize that eventually. That's the next level. But I want to know, does this make sense for you in terms of empowering you to be able to create improvisations and or to compose your own melodies, come up with your own accompaniments, figure out bass lines, figure out how to take a song in one style and cover it in different styles. Does that make sense to you? Because that's my goal. And if I haven't accomplished it, I want to make sure I do before I leave. Give me a yes or no, please. All right, good. Like I said, I want to make some dreams come true here. So there's a lot more where this comes from, and I'm just going to share a link really quickly, which is to if I have like kind of like light versions of the course that this goes to. And if you want to get that, you can get it for free along with a bunch of other free resources from me via the link that I just dropped here. All you have to do is put your email there. It's my newsletter. I send it out every week with tons of resources, make videos. You can tell me I got this question. I answer questions. It's very actionable. It's loved by 10,000 readers. As part of getting in that, just putting your email, I'm going to send you a bunch of free stuff. So if you click on any link from me, click on that link right there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is completely different, because what did I say in the title of this class? I said I'm going to teach you how to teach students harmony and improvisation. Those are two different things. What we did at the very beginning of the class for 5 minutes is I explained a lot to you for how to improvise using a scale, using a key center, only in certain situations where that is useful. I gave you a loop that it was useful for, right? But then I explained to you in 20 minutes how to apply harmony on your instrument, how to finally be empowered around harmony, to access chord tones, and how to translate that into arranging. Now we're going to talk about improvisation, completely different thing, the creative process. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can figure out how to do that. And we're going to go through completely different types of exercises. It's really important that you change up your expectations for this, because now we're really going to talk about the creative process. We're not going to be talking about playing right notes and wrong notes anymore. Forget that. We did that. So don't ask me about it in the next 20 minutes, because we're talking about creativity now. Completely different thing. You don't give me your email address here. You got to click the link. You got to click the link. It's right here. You click that link and you put your email there. If you want to get the free stuff from me, then you put it. Sorry, I'm just responding to the chat. I'm putting the link in the chat one more time. If you want this stuff, you click onto that link and you drop your email address there. All right. So I'm sharing my screen. Let's see here. All right. Free improvisation. Can you see my screen okay? All right, good. All right, we are going to do what's called an icebreaker exercise. I encourage you to record yourself. All right. For the first step of this icebreaker exercise, I'm going to give you a set of rules, and I want you to improvise with those rules. In fact, I don't even need to share my screen right now because I want to see you. So I'm going to give you a set of rules. I want you to follow the rules and improvise. For the first set of rules, this is it. This is your tempo. Ba, 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 ba. The rhythm is recurring quarter notes. That's what we call it in America, a quarter note. I don't know if that means semi-quaver or quaver or quiver or shiver or shaver or whatever you all call it in wherever you are. But it's just this kind of note. Da, 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 da. All right? The rules are you're going to play da, 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 and you're only going to play one note, and it's an open A. Those are the rules. Within those rules, you can be as free as a bird. Go. No other notes, no other tempos, no other rhythms. Good. That's step one. Here's step two. The same rules apply, but now you get to choose between the note open D and the note open A, and you can go back and forth between those.